Hello. Hey, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good
Good morning.
morning.
Good morning.
Good
Thank,
morning. Good morning.
thank you guys. Thank you guys for showing up this morning. I appreciate. I wanted to take a few moments to introduce us. My name is Lisa Keys, the voice of reason, and I have Naisha here with us. I can't see, this the lettering is kind of small if I'm messing up your names, right? And Adrian Walthour is with us. She is becoming, and why I want to take a moment to do this special introduction for the Hearts of Men panelists joining us. Thank y'all so much. We appreciate you guys for coming. Um, and we do have someone else we're anticipating who's going to be joining us a little bit later. But I wanted to tell you again, I really appreciate you guys coming. I think that when we have these conversations like this, that it takes all of us to do this together, right? So I'm so happy that you guys conceded and wanted to come and join us. Also, I would be remiss if I did not take the time to acknowledge our chat. Thank you guys so much for being here. I want to go in the chat and say, here's Divine Appointment. I hope you're feeling better. Thank you for joining us in the chat. She was supposed to be here with us, but she was a little under the weather. So I appreciate you and hope you're feeling better. Miss Robin, thank you for being here. Miss Crystal, she's the one in the background doing all the work. So her and Miss Nick D, thank you guys so much because it takes all of us to do this. So I appreciate you guys for being here and joining us. Join in, ask questions. We try to make sure we interact with the chat a lot. So if you have any questions or something you hear us talk about, please make sure that you put your questions in the chat. And if they're along the lines of what we're talking about, we'll make sure we try to get to some of your questions. Okay. So if you guys don't mind, I am going to go ahead and we're going to jump right into this, okay? And just give me a brief moment to talk a little bit about what we're going to be talking about today, okay? So today our conversation is going to be about the intentional relationship by design. And so thank you guys. This is part two. If you have not seen part one, please go back you can go to the YouTube channel and you'll be able to find part two of this conversation. So we want to go ahead and finish it out. We had the chat asked us that we would continue the conversation from the last time we had it. So here we are, wanting to make sure that we continue this conversation and allow you to ask any questions again as we prepare to have this conversation. So I want to welcome everyone, and I want to ask you a question. So have you heard anyone ever say that a lot of people spend more time planning vacations than they do designing their relationship, to define their lives, not covenant relationship that is going to help us to be in agreement with each other, but designed for their lives. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, okay? But I believe that true connection, and if you think that that's not correct, please put it in the chat and we can talk about that as well. Doesn't happen by accident, but it happens by design. So today, as we have this discussion, we're going to talk about some of the blueprints that we have discovered in studying about relationships. And we're going to have a conversation with you guys. So thank you, guys. Thank you for allowing me this moment to give you a little bit of insight about our discussion topic for the day. And you can go ahead and take me off of the big screen. So I just want to say again, the hearts of men who are with us today, and we are the hearts of women. Miss Adrian Walthour, Miss Naisha, she is joining us. She's been here joining us. This is her second time with us, and we thank her for coming back. And we appreciate her presence as well. So the hearts of men are on every Friday night on this channel. So if you are young men and you want to hear some insight about some of the discussion that men have, the conversations, even though the women are there to support, we're in the chat, so we're there, we're supporting as well. So every Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we are having conversations. So please join us. The Hearts of Women, we're here every third Saturday, and next Saturday we'll be doing reframing the images of relationships. So you want to join that conversation as well. Just want to get those few insights for everyone. Thank you, everyone, again for joining it in the chat. And we're going to go ahead and start with our very first question, where we left off from last month. Okay, I'm gonna turn on my fan. How can the concept of mutual growth play a role in building a strong relationship, and what does that look like? The concept of mutual growth.
Awesome. I don't mind jumping in first. All right. So, my perspective on this particular question is that mutual growth plays a major role in building a strong relationship and a strong foundation. I see it as it demonstrates itself as an individual's commitment to change. So I even though we're talking about mutual growth, I believe it starts with me as an individual having a commitment to change, learning, and to an openness to continued self-reflection and improvement. This is a very individual decision, and that when it's brought together with another, I would say similar or like-minded individual, someone with the same willingness and mindset about growth, that it actually results into mutual growth. So it starts with my individual commitment. In essence, what I'm trying to say is that mutual growth is impossible without the existence of each individual party making an individual internal decision and an individual internal commitment to individual growth, right? I've seen before where people who are open to growth join their lives with people who have no intention to grow. And so, in situations like that, here's the problem. The problem is there's friction that comes because sometimes you join yourself with someone who has no intention to doing the work and no intention to doing taking the steps to being intentional about growth, and therefore there's a friction that comes into play. And so sometimes you are trying to get someone to do something that they have no desire to do. So I believe that it starts with an individual intentional decision, and me doing my work and in intentionality, you doing yours, us coming together has the potential to result in mutual growth.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I muddy the waters a little bit first?
You always do.
I know.
But right off the bat, though,
I mean, might as well. This is going to set the stage. Mutual. How can it? I think it's the only way. If I'm being completely honest, I think you're deceiving yourself if you believe that. And humor me, and what I'm saying is not to say that you were wrong, Naisha. Let me start by saying that. But I think you're kidding yourself if you're going to grow independently, right? There is an independent growth in the concept of mutual growth. Sure, she will grow along her path. I will grow along my path, but those paths are interconnected. So the growth now looks more so like, how can I better serve him, or how can I better serve her? So when we look at what this mutual growth looks like, it looks like two actually growing as one, not necessarily growing separately, individually, and then figuring it out together. No. And I've heard it time and time again, he got his own thing, I got my own thing. No, you're cohabitating. That's what you're doing. And you're convincing the world that it is a good marriage. No, you're putting on a facade outside, and then you're going home and you're tolerating one another. I think we live under this umbrella that just because a couple has been married for X amount of years, we have this automatic assumption that it's a good marriage. No, a lot of people have coping mechanisms, and they just got to the point of realizing that, you know what, I've been here for 20 or more years. It's better just to exist here and be here as opposed to going out there and figuring it out again. I don't care what it looks like. Trauma is bad, period. I don't care how you try to disguise it. When I was in the army, we used to say, just because you pull syrup on, it ain't pancakes. So that's really what the truth is. Learning coping mechanisms and existing, cohabitating All those things are bad. It goes against the idea, the total concept of marriage. Growth happens as a unit, just like when you go to corporate America. Again, for the organization to thrive and grow, every individual under the umbrella of the CEO must adhere to the CEO's vision and grow accordingly. Some people get fired just for being a good person. Sorry, you didn't grow. You chose stagnation as an option. I think any relationship where a person chooses to be stagnant, they are ultimately their atrophy sets in. And if you understand what atrophy is, it just simply means you do absolutely nothing and it deteriorates. That's exactly what happens to the relationship. So now when I put myself at the primary focus, me, and me, I'm gonna grow. I've said this before and I'm gonna continue to say it. Two people who, if you don't grow together, eventually you'll grow apart. And that's kind of like my thoughts as it pertains to this.
I don't nobody want to go behind Coach, right? No, I appreciate you saying that. When I was thinking about this question, this one kind of made me grind my gears a little bit because all I could think about was everything me personally I didn't do. But as I've matured a bit and have learned a little bit more, I think one of the foundational pieces when you're coming together is that everybody has to have their role in the relationship coming together as well as the plan. And I think as women, when we can buy into the plan of the person that we are going to be in covenant with, it allows us the ability to be in a submissive posture. And once you do that, you have the respect of your partner. And so growing becomes a together thing, right? You should be in good, constant communication. You have that self-check. You have that mirror from your other person where we see where the other one is not, or where your partner could do better in certain areas. And you have a willingness to do better. And so that, to me, together is the growing. As you are getting older and maturing and situations are changing, you're constantly willing and able to adjust to what it is that your significant other needs. So I feel like once you can submit to the plan of the other person and you come into covenant, that if you're walking together along that path, then, and you're getting your respective roles, duties and responsibilities, that it kind of comes naturally. You kind of just play off each other and you do grow together because you are both bought into the same plan.
No one likes to go after coach. No one likes to go last, especially with all this greatness surrounding me this morning. But when it's just starting with the concept of mutual growth, I'm thinking of we're starting with where coach is at. You know, when we're talking about the growing together as one, but then the other aspect, and I think was spoken about already, which is the equality and yokeness, being equally yoked. Because we can grow at the same time, but are we growing in the same direction? And sometimes you can be like, well, he's studying and I'm in school and we did, so we both learning, we both getting degrees, or we're both gathering information, but are we learning life separately? Because I think coach is right. I hear people talk all the time like, oh, you gotta do your thing. They gotta do their thing. You hear people on social media, oh, we need to normalize sleep, not sleeping next to each other, having separate houses. And I'm like, we normalizing some of the crazy stuff, okay? But these concepts are real, that there can be two separate entities cohabit, but they don't use the word cohabitating. They just existing in the same space, right? Because I even think to cohabitate means, you know, you got to build a home together, but that's just a gaddyism. But I hope right there, like, you got to be moving together. You got to be going in the same direction. You know, how can two walk together except they agree? To me, is a tell-all. It's not just for ministry, but it's for all relationships. How can we walk together except we agree? So if we're not going in the same direction, then we're growing at the same time, but we're not growing together. And so that togetherness, being yoked, I think, is a foundation. So I'm with Coach, is the foundation of building a strong relationship. Um, what it looks like, I think we're in a generation where we're still trying to figure that out. I don't know how we got so far to the left, but I think we're in that space where we're really trying. There is an awakening of people who are truly trying to seek what the Most High wants, in our relationships, in our life, in our homes, in our walk, on our jobs. And so I think we're on our road to learning, to getting back to that.
Thank you, everyone. I mean, as I was listening to everyone talk, it made me think about the word cultivation, right? And that was the role given to Adam, right? That's what he did. He was, you know, I think it's in Genesis. I can't remember the scripture text, but it made me think about that, right? And when I heard growing together, made me think about two people coming together. They're out there tilling together. They planted the seeds, and now the root is nourished and is healthy, and now it's growing up, and you'll begin to see the buds of it. That's what it made me think about, right? It made me think about, as I was listening to Naisha, I was listening to Adrian, I was listening to Dr. Dwyer and the son of Timothy. It made me, those are the thoughts that came to mind, right? Because that's the process of us doing it together as one. And I think that a lot of times, as we hear some of these things that are being said in the environment, like the separate living quarters and all the other things that people are adopting for individual convenience, is not covenant, us coming together and mutually growing together. So that's what it made me think about as I listened to everything everyone said. And I want to ask this question as well. So when you think about cultivating, what is your thought as it pertains to covenant marriage?
To me, it's preparation, right? It's just kind of like going back and doing a comparison to what it's like to have a farm. And you just can't go just drop the seed in the ground and expect it to grow. You have to cultivate the ground. You have to till it. You have to get the weeds out. You have to get the rocks and all of the things that prevent growth from actually happening. You have to get those things out. Well, the same thing happened in the marriage, right? The Bible says, husband, love your wives like Christ loved the church. So the man has to go on a journey to understand what it looks like for Christ to love her church, to love the church. I know a lot of women like to say, well, he sacrificed his life. Stop. Just stop. Listen, stop. There's a lot that he did before the sacrifice. The sacrifice was the culmination of what he did, right? Look at what he did prior to. He nurtured, he taught, he instructed, he chastised, he empowered, he did all of those things. So now the man has to go on a journey to try to understand what that looks like in the space of relationship, and then do that in his wife so he can bring out the best version of her for himself. That's what the Bible says. Go read it. It says, husbands, love your wives like Christ loved the church. It continues to say, wives, submit to your own husbands. And then it says that Christ, as it continues to go down, it says he sanctifies her by the washing of the water with the word, so he can present her to himself spotless and blameless. So that's his responsibility, to cultivate her so that she can continue to grow and develop and flourish so that she can be presented to himself. So when you look at the cultivation, it is work for the man to bring out the best version of that woman. Not what Big Mama taught her, not what Papa, not what none of those folks said, because a lot of times, and I'm just saying, if they weren't teaching the word, they were teaching their own versions of what that looked like. And a lot of that wasn't good. So we try to move the ego out of this space of relationship so that we can be best suited for one another.
I'm sorry. I agree.
Yeah, that was, man. Well, when I think about cultivating, the first thing I think about is atmosphere and environment. If we're going to be cultivators together, if we're going to put our hands to the plow for the same thing, we're cultivating, right? An environment has to be set so that the atmosphere for growth can exist. Because, and since we're using that analogy, like what is the environment that we have set? What atmosphere now exists around us, right? Because that is what's going to cause certain things to grow, a specific type of growth. And you learn that pineapples you can only grow in tropical areas, right? Where it's a consistent temperature, right? You have to have a consistent. They can't drop too low. If we drop too low, right, it'll stop growing. If we go too high, so certain places like Puerto Rico, like Hawaii, where that type of weather, they can. That's where Hawaii, where the largest where the Dole plantation is at for pineapples, right? Why? Because the atmosphere there is already prepared for that cultivation. So what are you seeking to grow in your relationship? Are we in agreement on that? Have we touched and agree? This is where we're going. This is our direction, right? Because if I got to lead and you got to follow, we got to both know where we're going, right? And so so with that, we have to make sure we're setting that proper environment. Do we pray in this house? Do we read in this house? Is the word of God open in this house? Uh, do our children hear us having private Bible studies and family Bible studies? Or are we just holy when we meet with other people outside this house? You know, these are now, because this is how I want my family to grow. This is the environment that I'm setting, that this atmosphere for the Holy Spirit to move can exist, and that growth can happen.
Okay, ladies.
I would even chime in to say, from what I'm understanding about the harvest period, I'll just say it, well, the growth period for everything that happens in harvest, right? That cultivation should come in the courtship, if you will, right? Is that when you're looking at the other person as somebody that you can potentially come into covenant with, that should be during that time. That's when you start uprooting some of the ways that you think about self and self only, you know, especially if you are in that season. That should be the time, you know, and I could be wrong, so, you know, definitely take correction. You know, that you should be thinking of yourself as being with that person. It should, even before then, you know, even before courtship, you should really and truly be in there tilling the ground and getting those roots and all those things out, those rocks, all those things out of you, so that you can be in the place where the ground and the atmosphere and all those things are conducive to have, you know, healthy seed planted. So I feel like if we can do the work, the pre-work, on ourselves before even entering into that season, then it's a whole lot easier. It's disingenuous to me and disheartening, and you know, as people say, you know, not fair to the other party, to come as hardened ground, untilled, all that stuff, and then you're expecting, you know, somebody else to come in and dig out, you know, 10 years of work you could have done on yourself, that, you know, and they're still trying to do, you know, their own stuff. So I don't know, I just feel like that is the part of our season that we should be able to do the pre-work. I even, right now, I'm going back to Tuami's words before, that you have to work on yourself even prior to covenant. That's some of that work that goes into that.
Thank you, Adrian. That's where I was answering this question from. Honestly, I wasn't answering this question from the space of being already married. I was answering it from a perspective of looking at when you're considering joining your life with someone, how it's very important that I have an individual commitment to growth as an individual long before the other individual comes into my life, and so forth and so on. And so when we link up together, because we have the desire to grow already before we even cross paths or before we come together, then there's a good chance of us being able to make a decision that we're going to not only that we're going to grow together if this is the road that we really feel like we are being led to go down. I agree with you, Adrian, where it's work, it's pre-work that has to be done. And sometimes like you said, the cultivating of the ground, there's a lot of, like, it's like you said, seeds, digging up some things. You got to do some pruning. The word that coach said, I was thinking till the land as well. That there's going to be some things when you come together, you're going to have to do together as a unit. Yes. But there's also some things that has to take place, or that is good to do in the beginning stages as well. And my thought was that if I'm committed to, or you're committed to growth as an individual before I come into the picture, and I'm not, and I link with you, you know what I'm saying, in life and on journey toward covenant marriage and things of that nature, here's where we find some of the issues that we see today, is that sometimes people have joined themselves in covenant with individuals who are perfectly fine where they are, have no intention of growth, development, individually or as a unit. You know what I'm saying? So if I don't even have that intention by myself, then the reality of me coming together with you and thinking that I'm going to suddenly get on the court at that moment for the sake of this marriage, it may not be the case, and I think that just in experience and seeing, you do see situations like that, but by the time individuals catch it, unfortunately, they're catching it after they have made a decision to be in covenant with one another. So I just wanted to share that was the perspective I was coming from. Was not necessarily in covenant. Now we're marching in the same drum and to the same direction. I was thinking about the pre-work that Adrian mentioned.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate it. The uncle's in the house. So we were just asking. I don't know if you were listening in, or if you wanted to add to before we move forward. We were just asking, what does the word cultivating mean to you, or what does it look like in understanding us being in a covenant relationship together? If you don't want to answer it, that's fine. I know you just coming in. I think you're on mute.
There you go.
Yeah,
Okay.
I had the wrong microphone, wrong mic hooked up. So I will be brief about it because I missed a lot of the context and stuff like that. So when I hear the word cultivating a relationship, I immediately go to gardening. Before you start planting a seed, for a healthy garden, like someone was just talking about the pre-work that goes into it. If you want to be able to grow a 1,000-pound pumpkin, you got to get in there and you got to cultivate that soil. That has to be prepped. And it goes in long before you actually put that seed into the ground to grow that big pumpkin. So the same thing within a relationship. The part of the cultivating is what is going on in the relationship prior. If we're speaking the goal being marriage, I'll use that. What's going on in the relationship, or what's going on before we get there? How are we tilling? How are we nurturing? How are we feeding our relationship in a way so that once we do, say those vows or plant that seed, that it stands a better chance of growth and longevity. But again, like you said, the root work has to be done literally and figuratively when it comes to cultivating relationships.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all. You know what? It just makes me think about some of the things that I'm listening to, right? Is that, a lot of these things I didn't know, until recently. And so I love having these conversations as we're growing and we're all learning together, and we come together several times throughout the week, the months, to continue to grow and learn and understand what being in this community really means and how to make it healthy. I think that's one of the things that we talk about a lot, trying to undo some of the things that we learned in error, I would say, and now understanding truly what it means for us to be in relationships. So I really do appreciate these conversations that we have, and I appreciate each and every one of you. And I want to, again, thank everyone who's in the chat, who's participating. If you have any questions, please ask your questions pertaining to what we're talking about, and we will try to get those in. So now we're going to go to our next question, if all hearts and minds are clear. Okay. What does it mean to have a framework in a relationship, and how does it help to establish a solid foundation?
I'll jump out there on this one. So when I look at framework, I'm starting kind of where Adrian finished when we talk about what that pre-work is, right? Because you're working on ourselves, but what am I working on as it pertains to relationship? Because do I gotta be established in my career? Do I gotta have $100,000 in the bank? Do I gotta have the nice fancy mansion already? Have all the nice cars? Or I gotta be able to have all of this? Is that what I'm working on before I get in a relationship, or is it internal? Is it my person, my spiritual, my walk, a lot of things now. And I'm a little bit careful because in relationships we learn a new life because now we're growing with someone else. That is vastly different than growing by yourself. So you do have to. I believe in leaving myself that little bit of grace to grow with the person that I'm supposed to align with for the rest of my life. Because now, who am I in relation to you? Not just who am I, right? But for me, it starts with who am I in relation to the Father, because that's where my identity is found, right? My identity is not just. I know we always talk about the makeup of things I've gone through, where I'm from. That's a piece, but who is that person in relationship to who the Father is? And now I begin to build framework, because without that, even if I can have all the Bible I want, but if that relationship there, if I don't have that identity there, and who am I in the Father, I won't have any understanding of anything that I learn. I can quote every scripture, but I won't be able to have true understanding of what that is supposed to look like when I begin to build a relationship. Because now I'm building a relationship based off of my perspective of what the scriptures are saying, not based off of what the teacher, what the Spirit is showing us. And so I'm right there with Adrian, but I think we have to be purposeful in not just doing work on ourselves, but what work are we doing on ourselves to prepare ourselves to coexist, being intentional in that space. So that's why when we talk about framework.
Yeah, I think that's great. I definitely can see exactly what you're saying. When I thought about this question, I was thinking about how the essence of like an actual framing, like when even in a space of like organizations, a lot of times organizations have visions, they have like a framework, and I think about in a relationship space, it's actually to me the guiding principles. Like what are going to be those principles that are going to guide this particular relationship? I think about it as these are our boundaries. This is what we're going to be led by. This is our beliefs, what we believe in, the values that we have, as a unit, or as a in this particular relationship. It actually is, in essence, I think about it, the way we're going to function. It defines the way we're actually going to function in this relationship, as if it's like our blueprint, right? That the two people have. It gives a guide for how we're going to interact, with one another. And I think it's good to have, because it does give the clarity. It brings clarity, direction, and vision for the relationship as well. And so I just think that with this idea of framework, I think it sets expectations, and it is a great groundwork for the basis of accountability, where we hold each other accountable to the principles that we have um, chosen to build our relationship on. So I see this as structure for the relationship.
We talked about accountability last night. Go back and
Awesome.
watch that. Um, Yeah, I like that. I like exactly where you ended, and that's kind of where I want to start. I look at framework, excuse me, as as the structure for the relationship. How are we going to operate the SOP for the relationship? If you would. How are we going to, what's our conflict resolution style? How do we handle conflict when things come up? How do we handle, our finances? What are, expectations? What about boundaries? All of those different things that's in the relationship. So I think that's, to me, what the framework is. In a sense, it's the structure of the relationship. And then how does it help establish a solid foundation? I think that if that structure, if both people are on the same page with the framework or the structure, and they both buy into it, and they decide to move forward, I think that helps establish a solid foundation, because one, in the where they're at right now, same place and time, they are in agreement. Now, may evolve, it may adjust some, I don't know. But I think the foundation, you know, I think doing it like that and both people buy in is going to help establish that solid foundation, because they both have agreed to it. It's almost like, in a sense, like a contract. Like, hey, you want this job, right? We come together, in order to be. Well, actually, let me take that away, because that's more so a job something. It's not necessarily two people partnering together. So, but yeah, I think it's structure, and then all the things within the structure. And then I think that it helps establish a solid foundation just by both people being in agreement with it.
I kind of mentioned it before, but that was one of the things that I feel like um, I wish I would have been taught earlier. But I've come to understanding now, as I'm in my growth season, is that once you have met that person, it doesn't. A lot of stuff has to go out the window. The stuff that the world teaches us, right? I don't care how cute nobody is. I don't care what they drive. I don't care what they got. None of that stuff. If you can't buy into that plan, you don't have a framework. If you can't see the Most High through that person, you don't have a framework. If you don't have common uh, goals and respect for the other person, you don't have one. And so in my, just from my perspective, being able to see where it is that that the person that you want to connect with, you want to submit yourself to, is going, right? Understanding that as the two of you are growing together, that the plan that they have for their lives, the Most High has for their lives, that they are working out, that you're in agreement with, because that essentially, to me, causes a lot of fractured relationships, right? And then you find people who have been in relationships that'll say stuff like, well, I didn't agree to that. You kind of did. You kind of did. So I think that a part of the framework is understanding exactly who it is that you are trying to submit yourself to, and understanding that when they are laying out to you their God-given plan in life, that you can buy into that, because that in saying okay and agreeing to that stuff, you are setting that foundation. That's you understanding that that concrete is there, it's being poured, and if you're going to stand in it, it's going to harden around you, and that's the plan that you're going to have to go forth in. So that's just the way I'm thinking about it. And again, if I need to be corrected, I'm definitely open to that. But if you can give me your feedback on that part of it, I would appreciate that.
Playing Hollywood Squares over here. I'm turning my light off and I'm not talking. Um, I love this question. What does it mean to have a framework in relationship? How does it help to establish a solid foundation? Newsflash, the foundation is already established. The framework already exists. There lies the problem. We think we have to create it. We think we have to. The only thing we got to do is fall into it. That's it. We fall into it. The foundation begets the frame begets the foundation. They work hand in hand. And all in all, when you look at a house, the reason why the foundation exists is to support the frame, and the frame exists to support the roof and all of the exterior the exterior material that keeps you from actually being exposed to the elements. In the beginning, as a child, you're supposed to get the developmental work that you need. I think where we run into a lot of issues is that we think we do our own developmental work. But what happens if you do your developmental work and then you meet me and the developmental work that you did was subpar? Do you have the mental agility to relinquish what you think you already know so that you can learn what you can learn right now so we can grow? I think there lies a lot of the issue. So what ends up happening is that in the beginning, we did not get the proper development. I'm just, it is what it is. We did not get the proper development from mom and daddy and all this other great stuff because a lot of times, in most cases, I'll speak about me. I'm not talking about nobody else. A lot of times, in most situations, they were raised under the idea of survival. So they existed in the space of survival. Even in their marriage, they were surviving. So they weren't teaching how to be married because they themselves didn't know how to be married. So now you have a young child seeing what they're doing, learning what they're teaching, and then that young child grows up to be an adult. So what do you think that young child is now doing? That child is surviving. And then that child decides to get married at a young age. So it's just a repeating of the same process, right? So now they're under the umbrella of surviving and still yet choose to get married. So now they're competing with one another because that's what happens in survival. You're scrapping and trying to get resources and things of that nature, whether it's you get it together or you get it in spite of one another. It is what it is. When we go back and realize the foundation was laid long before you were born, and the only thing we had to do was adopt the foundation, then the framework was established long before you realized that the foundation was laid. And then you embody the framework. Then the framework points you back to the foundation because the framework, that's all the framework did was talk about the foundation. So now, in regards to that foundation, begot framework, and be in the unity, not just unity, the cohesive collaboration between the foundation and the framework means that the roof is now stable.
Hold on, wait, before you run off and Lisa moves on forward, can we just stop for a second and just listen to what this man said? The foundation supports the frame allows the roof. Your roof is your covering. Your foundation is Christ. Right now, men and women, our covering our roof is different, right? But for all of us, without the foundation and the roof, all the stuff on the outside that we love, it can't hold up. Matter of fact, without the covering and the foundation, all the stuff on the inside that we love, it can't last. The rain, the weather, robbers, these people come in. I don't know if anybody just caught with you. Half the problem is is our foundation is shaky, and we're living without a roof. Nobody wants covering.
Mm-hmm.
And so your framework, you got the framework for the different type of house that you built, that you did the layout for the roof and the covering.
Wait, you said nobody wants covering? Is that what you said?
Well, I'm not saying nobody, but you know
the preponderance of the observation.
Yes.
Right.
I got it.
But to kind of continue, we spend time arguing, fussing, talking about drywall.
Oh.
My finances, my title, all that's drywall.
Mm-hmm.
You want to talk about drywall, but you ain't got no framework yet. You ain't got no foundation, but you got drywall though.
I got pictures to hang up.
Yeah, you got pictures.
We ain't even got the drywall because we're still arguing about it, but I got pictures to hang on it.
You got pictures to hang on the drywall that you ain't got yet. Like, think about it. The thing that we're talking about, in most cases, just pay attention. The thing that we spend our time talking about is not the problem itself. It is literally the result of the problem. We're arguing because we think we're trying to decipher a relationship. No, we're arguing about roles in relationships. That's really, I don't care what. Two things come about when people are arguing in the space of relationship. They're either arguing about a role or they're arguing about authority. because in all actuality, they don't agree to authority. Those are the only two problems that exist in a relationship, period. I don't care how you cut it. Whatever topic of discussion, pay close attention to it. It falls into those two categories: authority or roles. It's that simple. There is no other relationship conversation.
Mm.
Either I don't want to be under authority and I'm going to fight authority every opportunity I get because I view the word submission as slavery, which is not the same thing. Submission and subservient is two totally different things.
Exactly.
Or I don't want to assume the role that, you know, and I'm just, I talk about men. I don't want to assume the role. I don't want to be responsible for her growth and development. She should come fully packaged, fully executable right now. That's it.
Cultivation has to happen. I'm just gonna say that. And I want to say, I want to add to this before next person. I think everybody answer this question? Okay, so I wanted to add this. I wanted to add Matthew 7:24 because that was actually my scripture for this question, right? That therefore everyone who hears these words of mine and act on them will be like a wise man who builds his house on a rock. So it made me think about what Coach said. It's already there. The framework is already created, but we're trying to recreate something that does not need to be. The perfect architect has already done all the work already. So yeah, that was, I just wanted to add that because when he said it, I was like, to me. And then the other thing, wait a minute, I got right. This is the other thing. Relinquish so that we can grow. Now, does that seem like it may be difficult for us to do? To relinquish our individualism so that we can grow as one? I'm just gonna, if you have anything else to add, I'll be quiet.
Sounds.
And I think that's it. If I like the ideal of going back and thinking about the framework again, right? Where we can identify two areas that come up in the conversation or when there is some disagreement, right? Or unalignment. You said roles and authority. So that's going to be an exercise for everybody, right? That when you are having these discussions, whoever is listening in the hallway, may not be in the comments, that if you're in a relationship and you find yourself having some disagreements of sorts, to take your time and think about it before you say anything. Use some forethought and say, is this an issue with authority? Is this an issue about roles? I think that's helpful because that's why we're here. We're here so that we can have these conversations so that we can do this better and continue to build on a solid foundation. So those are two things I will, suggest that we, would do. So I just wanted to add that. Anything else before we go to our next question? No, we're gonna burn that one up.
I got material for days. I don't want to take it all up. Go ahead.
You want to take it up?
Nope.
Okay. So question number 7 is, how can we apply the principles of accountability in our relationships to exercise growth and understanding?
All right, we're gonna let the ladies go first this time.
Yeah, I was gonna pitch the ball to you all since you guys talked about it last night, but okay. Accountability, boy, that word right there never goes out of style. Never goes out of style. It's something that we could talk about. The conversation is loaded when you think about the term accountability. Even with Coach saying, even some of the issues sometimes is whether or not we want to be accountable or held. to being accountable. And then when you're thinking about joining your life with someone, I think also understanding that that decision alone brings a level of accountability to one another. That is a adjustment for a lot of people, especially if you've been by yourself for a long time and you haven't had anyone that you're held, allowed yourself to be accountable to. Coming into covenant relationships, sometimes that is an adjustment. I look at accountability, one of those things with when it comes to accountability. I think about how this is a space where, when we come together, we are able to be honest about, our actions, our choices, and also our mistakes, but being also willing to accept some level of correction at times. That is not always easy for individuals to, or people to accept. Is that it's a level of standard that you give someone else the ability to hold you to, and that is different. It presses into things like following through on my commitments, being able to have the conversations when I don't follow through. That is sometimes can be hard. Also, understanding what's going on with our partners, the people that we've come into covenant with as well, even if I don't agree. That is another thing. And so I feel like accountability kind of it transforms things. So when we open ourselves up to accountability, we can now understand that accountability transforms things like conflict into, instead of it being a conflict, it could be a space of learning or opportunity of learning. It also looks at your mistakes differently, so it makes it feel like mistakes are not necessarily like failures, but they're opportunities for lessons. And also in the realm of partnership, accountability help us look at each other not just only as a partner, but actually that we're on the same team. So I see teammates in this word as well, where it's like you're able to hold me accountable, I'm able to hold you accountable, we are accountable to the Lord our God as well, and the principles of God. And then for if I'm falling short, because I'm accountable to you, I've created space and room for you to, bring me into that space and help me to see it, because I may not see it. So that's why I think it helps with growth, and it does establish a level of understanding that we have for our particular relationship. So I'll pause there.
So what I just learned here recently in our Bible study is the difference between accountability and responsibility. Thanks, Coach. So I believe that in order for the principles of accountability to be helpful or to apply correctly, we must first be responsible. We understand what it is that we are, our roles are, and what we have first laid out, in the tilling of ourselves, and then the planting of the seed in the relationship, and what it is that we're responsible for. So if I'm continuing with the gardening concept, who is responsible for the fertilizer, who's responsible for the watering, right? So having being responsible for your own particular duties within the covenant has to be there. Like, you have to show up for what it is that you're responsible for. And then once your responsibility, I believe that you are being responsible, the other person holds you accountable for what it is that you are now not being responsible for. So you first have to commit yourself to the responsibility in the relationship. And then the other person says, hey, you might have forgot this one thing. And you do it for each other, but you do it from a space of love and willingness to grow, because you both got to get behind that plow and push it forward, right? So accountability, just like Aisha said, that it's absolutely necessary. It's never going to go out of style. You learn to do it in different seasons. You learn to do it different ways. You always want to keep that love and respect going forward. But accountability is it's going to be there. It's a part of the essential relationship, but it allows you to grow without as many pain points once you decide that you're going to be responsible in your role in that relationship.
So far, I like all things that were said. One of the things I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna dig a little bit deeper into the accountability piece within inside of the relationship. I think that even with that, there needs to be an understanding or an agreement about what that looks like as well, you know. So yes, the accountability, but what does it look like in the relationship, you know? So maybe that means that we do weekly or bi-weekly check-ins to see, you know, exactly where we're at, you know, and what is the impact of my actions and my decisions and my words and how I communicate on the relationship. You know, what have you noticed in me over the last couple of weeks or whatever like that? And then also another thing is how how we choose to bring accountability to the other person's attention. You know, if someone is, you know, they're working on something, say they're working on some consistency, you know, is the person going to be okay with you saying, hey, you know, you didn't get up and work out today like you said you was, you know what I mean, versus, you know, another way of saying it. So how are we communicating when we are holding the other person accountable? You know, because one of the things we talked about last night was having that accountability partner, and that person needs to be in what's the word, um needs to be in embedded. What's the
Stakeholder.
word, coach? Stakeholder, that's the
Stakeholder.
word. Yes, you need to have that person needs to be a stakeholder in that relationship. And by default, you both in a relation should be stakeholders in the relationship. You know, if you get what I'm saying. So if y'all together, you each are stakeholders. So you both benefit from the other person being accountable, you know. So again, you know, how does that look like in a relationship when we need to hold someone accountable? And I think that that's important to the exercise, the growth and the understanding within the relationship. And then the check-ins, daily or not necessarily daily, whatever y'all establish to check in to see how we're doing overall in the relationship. I think those two things are important when it comes to the accountability specific piece within this question.
Yeah. I love literally everything that was said. It's almost nothing left on that accountability because y'all didn't take all the meat off. But I'm with everybody when it comes to understanding what accountability is. And so I love the idea of knowing what you're responsible for. But I think the accountability comes in when you now take responsibility for what you're responsible for. You know, and that's from the framework all the way to the upkeep, right? Because some of this upkeep I'm responsible for. Matter of fact, some of these damages that would cause I'm responsible for. And now what does take responsibility means? It means now I need to do the work that's necessary to patch up these holes. All right, what does that work look like? What do we need to do? And the problem is we'll punch holes in the wall and look at the other person and ask why the hole in the wall. Right. So it's knowing what you're responsible for and then taking the responsibility for it. It's easy to say I did that, but it's not as easy to say I need to change so I don't do it again. It's easy to say I hurt you, but to say I need to do what I need to do never to hurt you in that way again. Right. Or the problem is, hey, it could be not just that you hurt me. The problem could be uh, I get hurt by everything, I'm too sensitive sometimes, and so now I got to do that work on me to figure out why. So I'm not a ticking time bomb in my own relationship, you know. So knowing what I'm responsible for, but taking that responsibility and then putting that responsibility into work.
I love it. I love it. I really like this question. You did something in this question, and I don't know if you did it intentionally or not. Could you bring the question up, please? I don't know if you did it intentionally or not, um, but you referred to accountability as a principle. And if we missed that, we missed it, which means that accountability, every time it's exercised, it doesn't fail. 100% of the time, it does exactly what it does. And if I can just get in there, like if I could just do the screen, just separate those two words and pull them apart. So account on one side and the ability on the other side, it seems like it seems like the only thing within the scope of this word that isn't consistent is ability, because some of us do not have the tools to either give account for or give account to. So now, in the space of that, I love the fact that Gaddy, well, I love what everybody said, but I like when Gaddy, you went back to the house, because I don't think we can get away from this frame, right? So now I take responsibility for the things that were put in my charge. Who gave me the responsibility? Because that's the person I'm accountable to. That's the part I think we miss a lot of times. See, a lot of times we get into these connections and we get to talking to these people all kind of sideways. No, I ain't got to do that. You shouldn't have to do that. You shouldn't want to do that, because now you're in error. If this person was given a charge for a thing, the person who gave them the charge is who they're accountable to. If we're stakeholders in this relationship, we are now accountable for one another. So now, in the midst of this connection, like, hey, not go put the trash out. That's funny. It's not go put the trash out. It's like, hey, you still gonna put the trash out? You know what I'm saying? That's a whole nother conversation right there. Because when you come at me sideways, go put the trash out. I ain't putting nothing out. I'll put it out when I get good and ready to put it out now. Just because you came at me like that, I'm gonna prove to you. Like how Fred said, who you think I show you. You know what I'm saying? But you say, hey, you still gonna put the trash out? Okay, you know what? You're right. Thank you for reminding me. So accountability looks different now. It's not a flex of authority. It's not you boasting your might. It's you having a conversation to remind them of the thing that they agreed to do in the first place. See, that's why I say the ability part is the issue, because a lot of us are not given the tools to be accountable. And so in the space where we're supposed to be accountable, we run from that responsibility. But in the space we was never given charge to be accountable to, we actually take that on as though that's our responsibility. No, it's not. It's not a husband's job to stand over his wife and beat his chest like he runs the house. You need to go around there and clean that kitchen. No, bro. You know what? How about change that tone? How about say, hey, you know what? You still gonna clean the kitchen? I know that's passive aggressive. Y'all don't judge me, right? You still gonna clean the kitchen? If not, don't worry about it. I got it, right? I got it. Don't worry about it. You go sit down and watch TV, right? Now, listen. If you heard what I said, you heard what I said. No. I don't worry about it. I go sit down. I got you. So that's the thing, though. When we look at the ability is the problem, not the account. The account is already there, and he's already deposited in our account. He's already deposited in our account. Now, do you have the ability to access the account? Were you given the right tools to access the account? That's going to always be the concern. Some of us just want to walk in the bank and say, hey, give me my money. Man, who is you? You got some ID? No, I ain't got no ID. Well, how you think you're going to get some if you ain't got no ID? If you can't identify with the person that is on the, come on, man, y'all, I'm going on mute.
All I want to add right quick, I want to jump in for somebody else. The principles do not change. They don't change. That's the framework that we're talking about, right? They don't change. And so I love that I'm not surprised that he brought that out, right? Because everything is already preset, it's already done, all the instructions. Now, of course, I'm just learning this, but to know it and continue to grow and understanding it is so important for all of us, right? So the things that God is teaching us is not for us to hold in, but it's like everybody needs to be here that there is something better, that there's a better way to do it. And that's the way that I initially designed for us to do it. not your way, but my way. And if we just try to do it his way, it's gonna work out. It will. So I just love that you brought that out, and I'll be quiet. I didn't know if everyone answered that question.
I was going to say, but can we talk about how we come and we say, "Oh, honey, are you going to take the trash out the first the first time?" And then we come back the second time. And next week it's another time. Can we talk about that? No, I'm joking. This might not be the venue, but
Hey, I got a response.
I'm about to say you in the right. You in the right
place. I got a response because I'm gonna give. Listen, fellas. Give me. Let me be the tip of the spear on this one, please. The first time I heard you, the second time you're annoying me, the third time you're getting on my nerves.
Wait, but how do we know that you heard us?
It's not your job to know. It's your job to have faith.
Ooh,
Right.
But help me a little bit.
I just did. If you listen to me, I just did.
Amen.
Once you had the conversation with me the first time, let that be good enough.
I heard you.
Right.
I heard
so don't basically when 3 weeks from now or 2 weeks from now, it's the same situation. I just need to have faith in that moment. That's it.
That trash bag is sitting there 3 weeks later, we got a problem.
Yeah, I'm about to say, if we talking about the same trash bag, or we talking about next week a new trash bag, my question is, why do you have to keep
I just had to push that in there because the gentleness helps sometimes, but not always.
No.
I gave you the cheat code.
Yeah,
No. I'm telling you the God to honest truth as a man. The gentleness helps 100% of the time. There is never any time the gentleness doesn't help. When you put a little bass in your voice, you just became a man to me. So you're going to get bass in return.
Yeah, no, we always try. Well, not everybody, but always try to be gentle. Always try to be gentle. But I was just saying, how on our seat do we understand that you got it? And you said just have faith. And the reason why I said that is because a lot of times, and just in general conversations and marriages, there are some things that you don't mean to repeat yourself, but you find yourself repeating just because the behavior doesn't change. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm gonna pause there because I know this is not the conversation for today, but that's what I was thinking about and trash is an easy one, but sometimes it's more deeper than
There's
trash.
only one space you get to go back and repeat yourself, and that's to your child.
Mm-hmm. I was just
thank you for saying that.
There's a difference between having the same conversation and repeating yourself. And I think a lot of times when we have this conversation, right, and we do a bad. I'm not gonna argue with, and I'm not saying nothing against them, but I'm not gonna argue with you against when you tell me what the biological response of a woman is, right? We're telling you like the biological response for a man is because the moment even if it's one of my brothers, they put too much bass in their voice. Gotta go do this. My who? and so now take that into consideration too. Is right. Now take that into consideration to where the person I'm expecting gentleness from comes to me with that same vibrato. And it's like I'm not supposed to return that any. I'm gonna return that energy when it comes with that level of aggression and a level of this. There's a certain vibrato that men don't use with men because we have this understanding. I know I vocalize it a lot. I'm not gonna argue with a grown man. You either fight me and shut up. There's normally, but men we don't use that vibrato with one another because whether or not I think I could beat somebody, I'm just not trying to get punched in my face today. So I'm gonna watch how I talk to this man. And so I think we don't take that same consideration that we take for people outside. Like I know you're not going to take certain things from other women talking the way to you. So why am I going to bring that energy that you don't like to you? I'm the space that you should be able to come to and be more gentle. I'm the space you should be able to come to and relax, right? And the same and vice versa.
Yeah. So that's what I was saying, because we were talking about accountability. One of the things that I thought about, it was something like this, like your ability to come to me and express maybe something might have been my blind spot. I did not understand that I missed that or what have you. But being able to have those conversations and circle back in a way, especially when you see the situation happening more than one. And coach, one thing that you said was the thing that you agreed to do. So, you know what I mean? Sometimes it's that thing that you said that you were going to do, and so how we have that conversation, which is what Unc said, and the way we bring it up and things of that nature is very, very important. But in marriages sometimes, or relationships in general, you sometimes see where some things are repeating, maybe when they first were brought to the table for discussion in a gentle and loving way. And so knowing how to have that extended check-in or conversation, like Unc said, along the way is some of the things that I think it could be a good place to teach, because that's where you're probably seeing the bumping of the heads, and especially in marriage sometimes.
And I'm gonna get off this because I know at least you got to drive forward. But again, I said it already. There's only two arenas where relationships have problems: authority and roles. That's it. There are no other problems outside of those. Everything can be dwindled down to that. And again, if I didn't do a thing or I didn't do it in the timely manner that you thought I should have done it, that might be the problem. Number one, right? You think that you have the authority to determine what time I put the trash out. I put the trash out when I get ready to. Leave me alone. You know what I'm saying? I'm probably doing something that might be a little bit more important right now. But that's not what I say. That's what I'm thinking, right? what I actually say is, okay, I get it, right? But then you come back 15 minutes later, you're not going to get okay, I get it. You're going to get the look. Okay, right? Come back again, the door closed because I'm doing something. You're annoying me at the certain. And I think we live in a world to where we believe that's okay. We live in a world to where we believe we should normalize like behaviors that are not collaborative. Let's just be honest. If the trash can, if I'm doing something, if I'm busy doing something, if the trash is really in the garage and you're just moving the bag out the can into the garage, would you pass out and start twitching if you did it?
No, you won't.
You know what I'm saying?
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, because the conversation to me, I think, is like,
Right.
yeah.
So,
Just,
that's it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
If you're, I mean, that's to me, I think some of these things are common sense, but as we know, everything that's common may not, at this point. But I think that's it, right? If you want this garbage taken out so bad, right, that you can't wait. I think the example you gave with asking about the kitchen being clean and then saying, "Go ahead, I'm gonna do it. You go ahead and sit down." It's the same exact response. If you see somebody doing something, or they sitting there even tired, or maybe trying to relax a little before they go do it, I think there's unnecessary conversations that we're having that don't lead to harmony. So, I think some of those things, if they're still happening, that we really need to think about the bigger picture. You say if, you shaking your head, they still happening? What? I can't hear you.
You muted. You muted.
You muted.
Don't pick up the lawnmower, whatever you do. You go grab that lawnmower if you want to. I promise you. It's gonna be some
That's
smoking.
that's a part of the framework. That's part. You already skipped that. That's part of
you got a hard line there.
yeah, that's so yeah. So yeah, no. So I think there's some of those things, and I think this is good to me. I know that we've been here a little while, but I think some of these nuances are things that we have to see. Sometimes we make them more, and sometimes there's a bigger issue going on. That's your stubbornness. That's you want to do it your way because you've seen this example. And those are things that you cannot carry into a relationship. And that's why the cultivation is so imperative in relationships. And so I think it's important that we take the time to really go into some of these things that people are probably getting divorced over. Right? So that's my thought. And I think some of that is lack of self-control, immaturity, all those things, right? Because those are things that you can deal with. You know, you need to go sit down maybe with yourself for a little while and have a conversation and do some work. If those are the things that are causing you to have some issues that will cause an issue in your relationship, you know, some of those things are just obvious, and some of those things are some control issues that, you know, we got to, you know, figure out within ourselves. So yeah, I just wanted to, you know, to say that before we do our last question. Everybody had a chance to answer this question.
I just wanted to kind of redirect, because I was hearing what everybody was saying. I was agreeing, and then I kind of my brain kind of did one of these, right? So I understand it's a silly conversation, right? It's about the trash. While I'm cleaning the kitchen, I did everything else. I done mopped, I swept, I did all the things, and this trash still sitting there. Let me just grab this bag. I already asked, he didn't do it, whatever. I want the kitchen clean. Let me grab this bag and throw it in the trash can. I understand how that can be silly, right? Mm-hmm. But then Coach said, but if you touch the lawnmower, right, then we got a problem. So if I'm out there, I'm planting flowers, and I got my rocks out there, and I got all my other things out there, but the grass ain't cut, now I can grab the lawnmower and just go ahead and cut the grass if I know how to do it. So I'm just trying to understand.
In hits, he does. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
There are certain things that are non-negotiable.
Okay.
That's just it. I give you a perfect, and not just for me. I give you a perfect example. Let's just say I invite Gaddy and his girl over, right? And they come to the house. You at work or whatever the case may be, and Gaddy girl say, "Hey, do you mind if I go in the kitchen and cook y'all something to eat?" And you come home and find her in the kitchen cooking. Is that acceptable?
Yeah, nah.
Exactly. There are certain things that are non-negotiable. Like you can, like it's not gonna really do anything to you to take that bag and put it in another one, right? Take that bag and put it, it's not gonna do anything. To go out there and grab that lawnmower and run across the grass and all kind of, no, for what? I'm sitting right here. Or I'll pick up my phone, make a couple of phone calls, and there's gonna be a truck to pull up in the front yard with some dudes. One way or the other, the grass gonna get cut. I think when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. Like I listened to you talk about, you know, he didn't do it, so I'm gonna put the trash out. How about I'm gonna put the trash out because he's busy, and I'm gonna help him so that he don't have to be. When we change that mentality, it's like now it's like we're being of service, not of annoyance, not he getting on my nerves and things of that nature. And I think a lot of times in relationship we have the lower perspective, the lower consciousness when it comes down to a relationship. When our consciousness should be up here. It's not that I'm doing this thing because, well, he didn't do it when I told him to do it. He didn't do it in the time man and mama. No, I'm doing it because he's busy and I'm helping him so that he don't have to deal with it right now. However, I know in your mind, you're thinking, well, I can do the same thing with the grass. No, you can't. No, you can't. Because he can't go in your kitchen and cook. I'm trying to tell you, it's a hard line on there. Go ahead, bro.
You know, so I know why the trash is a thing. So let me go here. So, and to be fair, a lot of women are taught like you're responsible for the home, right? Men are responsible for the trash, but the problem is the trash is inside the home, so it's infringing on their territory. And I'm not being funny when I say this, or I'm being serious, right? It's infringing on their territory, and that's why we keep going back to this trash can. Right? I get it, right? I remember there was a day when I used to hear my grandmama tell my father all the time to get out of her kitchen. Right? He was like, I don't go in your wife's kitchen, get out my kitchen. And that was my grandmother's thing. She did not allow my daddy in the kitchen. Just like when my grandmother needed stuff done around the house, she used to call my daddy had to go travel to Brooklyn and go fix that woman's house. Right? There's certain things she didn't touch his tools. Those tools belong to my daddy. The kitchen belonged to my grand. All right, but I get it. The trash can is in your territory. But the problem is the way that this is taught is as if the woman is taking the authority over the territory. This is my response. This is my house. I build this house. I put this house together. I decorate the house. Right. And this is the woman's thought process. And it's not, I'm not saying it's a bad thought process, but no one's ever said, hey, you got to understand that, yes, said, the scripture said, good woman keeps her home, right? I get that. But that doesn't make you the authoritarian. Just like the husband leading the family, leading the house, don't make me the authoritarian. There's a difference between a leader and authoritarian, because I don't get to command you. You don't get to command me. Though this trash is in this kitchen that you love so dearly, and it's getting on your nerve, and I get it, and I get it. But we have to now have the conversation on how we approach these things, because yes, you take responsibility over keeping a house, but it's still our house.
I'm happy that you all are saying this, and also the fact that you are willing to take care of the grass, because personally, I personally experienced a situation where the individual refused to cut the grass. And not only refuse to cut the grass, but also refuse to make the grass get cut. So, like you said, coach, where you actually, you know what I'm saying? Maybe it's not you, right? Maybe you call and hire someone. So this doesn't happen in all spaces, but I'm just saying that I appreciate, you all being willing and saying like, no, that's something that I am going to handle and take care of, because sometimes people find themselves in marriages, where these basic things are an issue. And so thanks for entertaining the conversation on this. I appreciate it.
I think when I hear them, and thank you guys, I do appreciate it. I know we probably I don't know if we're gonna get to the next question, but I didn't want to leave beyond here without saying that there are some things that take this way beyond something going on other than trash, right? So if there is a behavior that is being set because I have to do this all the time, if I say, okay, well, you're busy, and you know that part of your responsibility, right, is to do what you said you were going to do, but then you don't, then that's something different than the trash. That's something different. So I did want to say that, because it's something way beyond just the trash or the. I'm
gonna end the debate. Crystal Everett said that she don't understand trash. It's part of cleaning the kitchen. So, but honestly, like, just being funny, like, I never heard that before. So this is the first time ever hearing that taking out the trash was part of cleaning the kitchen. So, but I don't want to spend the whole conversation. It was just something I thought about when I saw that.
No, but those are some of the nuances. So I think the conversation about responsibility and accountability are important in this framework as well. So, and I don't want to forget, before I do this last question, I don't want to forget the thought of always thinking about those two aspects of relationship. If there is some contention in it, the role or authority. Those were the two, right, Coach? Okay. And before we go on to our last question, and I really enjoyed this conversation, really truly have. I think this question is going to join this whole conversation that we've been having together. The next question. How can a focus on serving one another transfer our relationships and reflect a deeper understanding of love?
Take out the trash. No, I'm kidding. For me, so I was married for 19 years before. I've been married for 4 years this time, been with my wife for almost 12. So you ever like seen fantasy movies and stuff like this, where like the guy gets up and makes the coffee for the woman, and the guy come home and the woman has the shoes and all these different things, man. You know that I don't use this word a lot, but the feeling that goes along in that. You know what I mean? So I believe that if you take on those responsibilities and those roles and you do those things, and yes, those are just some of the materialistic things, you know what I mean? But serving someone and putting someone first in certain areas of your life, I think is really, it makes the other person feel good. And again, I'm not a feelings person. That's not me. But for this conversation, that's the word I'm going to use. So, because for me, it does feel good when my wife does X, Y, and Z. I had my suit. I had a suit in the car the other day. Matter of fact, like 2 days ago. And I was going to take it to the cleaners where we had switched vehicles, and she had my truck. And then we ended up switching back, and I got in the truck, and I saw the receipt where she had dropped the suit off. So simple stuff like that, taking the time to serve me, to put me first in her life, and me do the same thing. I think those are great things, and I think those things just grow the relationship even more because you feel valued. You don't just feel like another person in the relationship that pays the bills, another person in a relationship that just cleans the kitchen, another person in a relationship that just takes out the trash. You know what I'm saying? So you feel more invested in a relationship because you are receiving a lot from the other person serving you. And I think that it just continues because it makes you want to continue to serve more too, even though serving ain't got nothing to do with your feelings.
I think we can let the gentleman take the lead on this one.
I do. Reciprocity. That's how you can transform our relationship. Um, it anything. Oh, and let me not say anything. The energy is where I find the currency conversation at for me. Oh, 50-50. Well, if I'm talking 50-50, last thing I'm talking about is a dollar. Right? I'm talking about 50-50 in the energy and what we're bringing into this marriage. Same thing with the conversation of what do you bring to the table. Oh, any man asking a woman to bring something to the table, I'm not talking about your money. I'm talking about the energy. If I'm coming in this relationship to serve you, and you're coming in this relationship to be served, eventually I'm in about a year or two, depending on how fine you are, it might be 5 years or two, you know. Let's just be honest. Some people put up with more things depending on how fine what they're dealing with. Men and female, they both do it. So, but depending on how fine you are, anywhere from 2 to 5 years, I'm gonna turn around and realize I'm the only one in this relationship. I'm the only one putting in to this relationship so that you're comfortable in this relationship, so that you're getting what you need out of this reciprocity. And here's the problem with servitude, right? Or servanthood, because I know depending on how you use that word serve, people get mad, right? To serve is whatever. All right. But that servitude, here's the thing. I can't serve you how I want you to be served. Then I'm not serving you. I'm giving you what I want to give you. Right. And so we have to really understand that causes, because you said how can it cause us to have a deeper understanding of love, right? It causes me to understand you better. If I'm going to serve you, I'm going to have to now learn the things that bring you joy. If I'm going to create a space for you when you come home so you can relax, because I know you had a busy day, it has to be a space that's filled with things that bring you peace, even if that's just an empty space. Right? That's what that looks like. So now, it grows our relationship because my focus is on you, your focus is on me, and we serving each other, and both of our focus is on the Most High, right? So as we go into this conversation of how can it grow a deeper relationship or a deeper understanding and love, right? Because the more we have conversations like this, the less I believe that there's a cookie cut definition of what love looks like. Because I can't love Adrian the way I used to love Josephine. Now I'm just using some name, right? Old woman name, my bad. But Josephine, right? Everybody else had a woman named Josephine around town. Stop talking. My bad. I'm gonna shut up after that. but I have to now spend time to learn Adrian and what she needs, what's going to make her smile, and vice versa. But I'm talking about it in just a one directional way. But how does it benefit? Is reciprocity. That energy has to come from both ways.
Yeah, the whole Josephine thing, bro. I'm thinking like Erlene, Lou Bertha, Mary Lou. Those are the names I grew up around. I love this question, right? If you can bring it up again, please, and thank you. Why do I always get shortchanged the question? I just want to understand this right now. I think in looking at this question, the key here is reflect a deeper understanding of love, which means that ideally we had an understanding of love. Again, an understanding of love. I love what Gaddy just ended off. He said the more we have these conversations, the more we realize that it may not necessarily be an answer for this question. I agree. But as we progress along, we become more aware of the answer, that there is an answer. I mean, the scriptures say, for God so loved the world that he gave. Interesting. This is the God of creation, the creator of heaven and earth, the King of kings, the Lord of lords. This is the Alpha and the Omega. He gave. The Bible said that he is love. There's some other scriptures in there that we can unpack to go along with that as well, right? Because I think our perception of love is more contorted to fit what the world is trying to teach us that love is. See, love looked like flowers and candies and balloons and, lions and tigers and bears. Oh my, right? All of those things to where you got to do this and you got to do this and a man got to do this and a woman got to do this and all of this. No, it's not. None of that stuff is accurate. Not one. We made all that up. We're talking about on this side what we believe the expression of love looks like. On this side, he is talking about more of his innate ability, his character, his being, the very essence of who he is. And so in order for us to get there, we have to cleanse what is in here. And to cleanse what is in here now makes me a reflection of what is there. So Gaddy is right. In this form right here, it is virtually impossible for me to express the purity of that. But as I understand it, I become more of a reflection of it. And I don't dwindle it down to just a simple act. Here, this means I love you. It's the dumbest thing on the planet. When we go and we really stop and think into it, well, if they don't do this, that means they don't love you. Nope, stop. You're bitter. You're angry. Go sit down, be in the corner and be taught. There lies the problem. We got the wrong people teaching the thing that they have no earthly idea of what it's about. And they're trying to turn it into servitude. They're trying to turn it into slavery and make it sound as though it's something that it's really not. Because really, we were put here to serve. That's why you feel better when you do a kind act for somebody else. So now, when you get down to the core competency of the person that you're in relationship with, the mutual exchange of value. So it's not that I'm just doing a thing. Here's this book because I was thinking about you. No, that's simple. Sure, I can have a thought about you and get a thing. That's not an expression of love. It's an expression of thought. That's all. But we've always conflated these things and made one thing what it's not. Me cleaning the kitchen is not a reflection of love. It's a reflection of responsibility. Me cutting the grass is a reflection of responsibility. It's not a reflection of love. We're confusing things and making something that it's not. None of that is reality. The only thing that love is your reflection of the Most High. When you get that, then you will stop trying to manipulate people to serve you and you be their master. Get over yourself. It's not that serious. And you ain't that great.
Say it with your chest. Say it with your chest. No.
don't want people to think I'm angry, man, but it really gets under my skin when I hear other people try to tell somebody, put a person in bondage.
But that's
Like,
good though. That's good. You are distinguishing that what's not love, which what is love, because those distinctions. I mean, those distinctions need to be heard. You know, it's not. This is not love. Me, you get me flowers is not love. It's a thought. It was a kind gesture. It's
and
you
I'm be
give me.
honest with you, most men just do it because they don't want to hear you complain about it. Listen, I'm gonna tell you the truth. Everybody else gonna lie to you. I'm sorry, not these brothers right here gonna tell you the truth too. We gonna tell you the truth. Everybody else gonna lie to you. Oh, honey, I was thinking about it. No, you know the day was the 14th, and if she ain't had nobody by the end of the day, you was gonna like, yep. Ain't no man want to do that. That's the only reason why that. Okay, I wish another dude was in the chat to confirm what it is. I'm just being honest.
He ain't lying.
So he in bondage. So that's saying he in
Yes,
bondage.
that's exactly what. Okay. Go ask somebody else. Go ask somebody else. I think I'm lying. Go find another dude and say, I want you to be honest with me. Don't sugarcoat it. Tell me the truth. Do you feel like you have to do something on Valentine's Day, on Christmas, on my birthday, on anniversary? If he says yes, that's called bondage. That means he didn't do it of his own free will.
No, you know how you get the answer to that question? You ain't even got to talk to him. Ask yourself, what am I going to do if you don't give me something on Valentine's Day? What am I going to do if you don't give me something on my birthday, if he forget our anniversary? Trust me, he knows what you thinking. He knows what you going to do.
So he don't want the
and we don't want that smoke.
Now that is bondage. That is bondage.
Sensory overload over here.
Okay.
All that yap. That's sensory overload.
Right.
Like I got my PTSD is stirring up again. I'm gonna need you to calm. Simmer down, bro. Simmer down a little bit. Simmer down.
Okay. I know we've gone over time, but I do thank y'all. I did want to comment on this, and I know I don't know if Adrian or Naisha has responded, but I did want to say to this question, right? When we reflect on a deeper understanding of love, it made me think of Ephesians 4:3 through 4 and then 6. While endeavoring to keep the unity of the spirit of in the bond of peace. I don't know why I'm can't talk speaking in cursive today. There is one body, one spirit, even as ye are called in one hope of your calling, one God, one Father of all, who is above all, through all, and in all. So it made me think of oneness, right? And I think I'm just reiterating what the coach has said. When we begin to have a deeper understanding of love, and what that means, because we are in this particular question, we're talking about being in a covenant relationship. This is someone who's in a marriage, right? So the whole goal is for us to continue to be one, become one. So that was my thought when I heard everyone's comment, what they were saying, and it made me think of us being one. We're all, listen, if we're in a marriage, we are one. So whatever one person does is going to affect the other person. And if that person is hurting, then the other person is going to hurt. So it's just, those are some of the simple things that I don't want to say simple, but those are some of the thoughts that I had as I listened to everyone's perspective on this question. And I'm allowed, go ahead, let Naisha, I don't know if you add anything to this comment, and Adrian, I don't want to keep you guys too much longer. And then we're going to do our final thoughts.
For this one, I was just listening to everybody's I guess understanding of the question, and I thought that in my thought I was thinking where Coach was headed as it relates to the foundation of this question is serving one another. I would love, and this might not be today, but the opportunity for that to be unpacked and explained a little bit, because we did talk about just the natural acts that people are used to doing to demonstrate love, but sometimes for the sake of understanding and growth, actually breaking down what your perspective was, I think could be helpful. And like I said, it may not be for today, but just because we're, so used to seeing the acts being demonstrated as it relates to this service and servitude, I just think it could be helpful. So that's the only thing that I wanted to add to the discussion for this question. Thanks.
And I'm gonna concur with Naisha because I got questions too. But what I will say is that I'm gonna step in a little bit and I'm gonna step out. For those of us that were coupled in the early 2010-ish, 2015-ish era when the whole love language books and everything was so popular and everybody was looking it up and trying to figure it out. I know I said I was going to step in and then step back out. But I know that a lot of us did that, right? In error, but a lot of us did that. But what I will say is that in everything that you do, I think it's Colossians 3:23, whatever a man worketh, he worketh unto the Lord, worketh, well, mess this up. But basically, you're working. What you're doing is you're doing it unto God, even though you may be working for man. And so I feel like in service, on whatever it is that you're doing in relationship, you're doing that thing dutiful as if you are talking, if you're doing it for God, right? And I think that that is a way that demonstrates a closer version of love. Now, to be honest, I don't really know the answer specifically to this question. And I'm like Naisha, I would like to learn more and get a little bit more meat on that bone. But I have learned at least that much, that whatever it is that I'm doing it as if I am working for the Lord, even though it is not, it's meant for man. It's going to benefit the man. It's going to benefit the relationship, but I'm doing it unto him.
Is it not? My bad. My bad.
What were you going to say? Okay. Huh?
She said, even though it's not. Is it not? Why is it not? If I'm doing something even unto man, and it's not service unto the Most High, then what am I doing? I'm being honest. Even when we do well unto others, is that not commanded?
We're going to talk about this on TikTok Live.
But we're going to talk. Yeah.
And I give everybody a snapshot. It depends on the source in which you do it from.
Oh.
That's why I said previously, if you're going to have this, if I'm doing the thing just because I don't want to deal with your emotional response, that's not me doing service unto you. But it depends, like 3-part being. Which part is doing the drive? Which part is driving the train? Which part is doing the work? That's the thing we have to understand.
Thank you, sir. So as I said earlier, well, thank everyone. I want to thank the Hearts of Men for joining us in this conversation. We can go on more, but I don't want to keep y'all on here longer. I know Adrian said they was experiencing bad weather there, and I want us to go ahead and do our final thoughts and TikTok Live. You can find us on TikTok Live under the Mindset Coach, under the Available Man, under the Voice of Reason. I will be hosting tomorrow's TikTok Live Sunday brunch at 11:30 Eastern Standard Time, and we're gonna continue this conversation. So I look forward to to continue the conversation. So we're gonna go ahead and do our final thoughts. If we could be brief, I know I've held you guys for a while. So we'll start with Miss Naisha, Adrian, Uncle Junior, son of Timothy, Dr. Dwyer, and then I'll end this out. Take us out.
Awesome. Well, thank you once again for having me. It was a pleasure to be with each and every one of you. And thank you for everybody who was engaging in the chat. My last words is simply this. When you're thinking about relationships and covenant relationships, as it was discussed, there is a blueprint already. And so I would just encourage us all to lean into the blueprint that's already established. You can see it in the Word of God. There is a bride and a bridegroom in the Bible itself. And so we have structure, as it was said, and framework through that. So you can't go wrong when that is your source, when that is your guide and God is your source. So be encouraged, everyone, and just know that you don't have to try to figure this thing out. There's already a guide that's in place for us. So use the Word of God. It goes a long way. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to be on this panel today. God bless everyone and have a wonderful day.
This was such a good conversation, and I'm glad we did come back for part 2. And it looks like part 3 is going to be on Sunday on TikTok. I do appreciate the Hearts of Men joining us and giving us that perspective. It's so good to have men who have a heart after Christ, who are able to level with us and give us some good information that we can use. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't have the answers to all of these questions, but I was able to get a little bit more understanding as to how I am still tilling the soil and weeding and getting the rocks out. So, with that being said, I love you all with the love of Christ, and there's nothing you can do about it. And until next time.
Well, like she requested, I'll keep it brief. So the title of this, this part 2 is From Chance to Intentional Relationships by Design. So I think that just when it comes to relationships, whether that's with a mate, a spouse, your day-to-day life, a co-worker, I think that if you are intentional with your relationships in general, I think they will be a lot better and they will serve you better, and you can serve others better versus just leaving things to chance. And that's my final thought.
From chance to intentional relationship. From chance, understanding love is it's not a little fairy dust being sprinkled by some fat old baby in diapers, right? With a bow and arrow. Love is a choice. You choose to love, and you choose that every day. That's how we go from chance to intentional. I choose to love you. Every day I wake up, I have to choose to love you. And if I'm going to do that, love is not just something that makes me feel tingling on the inside, but it's it's how I actually project it. It's how I show it, how I share. So as unto the Lord, that should be intentional. And I do it unto you as I would do it unto the Lord. That is all intentionality. That means I did it on purpose. I chose to figure it out, and I chose to put it into action, and I chose every day not to let it fade. What fades is my desire to do it. We can have a discussion about how and why, but it's that simple to me.
I enjoyed this conversation. Greatly appreciate what everybody had to say about it. Um, I'm gonna say it like this. Keep it simple. Two things. I'm gonna start off with this. If you have not registered yet, make sure that you scan that QR code. Get your ticket for April 11th. Pain to purpose. That's number one. Number two, make sure you join us tomorrow on TikTok Live. Um, Number three, Coach's Corner on Tuesday night at 7 p.m. And number four, and obviously the Hearts of Men on Friday night. And number five, the thing I'm going to say, if you have a faulty perspective of what relationship is as it pertains to what the Most High said, it's probably because you got the information from the other Father, which is not the Father of glory. And I'm going to land right there. You are muted.
I want to echo what everyone has said, and I thank you guys for this conversation, because these are the conversations that we really, really need. And I think I'm going to take this with me. Do I want my mate to be in bondage? That's one thing I'm going to take with me. And so I think that's important for us to be mindful of, being in relationship. If we're going to be one, we don't want to be in bondage. So that's my final thought. I just wanted that's what I'm going to take away with me in this conversation, to be mindful of that. It's not about me being served, but me being a servant, to serve, my household, my community, and to be a help. So those are the things that I'm going to take away. And I love these conversations. You can take them on a big screen. I love these conversations because they help us to identify how we can do this better. So I just want to say thank you guys, and I thank everyone who stayed around to participate a little bit longer than we planned on going, but I think this was a good conversation. So thank you, and until next time.